let's move on now to the New York Giants. But before we get into that, Ryan and I, we have a goal of getting to 1,000 subscribers. And by recording this, we are only 42 subscribers away as of this moment. So if you have not already, hit that subscribe button. It's the easiest way to help us reach our goal and help us to kind of keep growing our community and creating new content. And also, if we are already at 1,000 subscribers, go ahead and hit that subscribe button anyways and ring that bell to get notified so you can see when we create new content. And Ryan, the New York Giants, great 2022 NFL season. Rookie head coach Brian Daboll, absolute stunner, deserved every bit of the Coach of the Year awards. And they came into the offseason with several questions that they have now answered. And I think that they are the correct ones. And I'm talking about the Daniel Jones, Saquon Barkley decision, who to extend, who to franchise tag. And I think they did it correctly. As much as Saquon Barkley is probably the better player, if we're just looking at overall football aspect, his longevity in the league is much smaller than Daniel Jones will be. And it's just the reality of the league. And so so I think that this is going to be, I hope he has a great season. And then they say, hey, okay, all right, you still got the legs. Let's give you a couple more years, and then he can finish out his time in New York. But just the reality of the way the league is at, running backs are much easily replaceable. But finding a quarterback that can play consistently at a high level, and of course, Daniel Jones only done it for 1 year, but they think that he can do it for 4 more years at a cost of $160 million. And I think that's fair. He reminds me of a Josh Allen light. I think that you've said that before. And I think Brian Daboll knows how to utilize his skill sets.
Yeah. I think the 4-year, $160 million is a little pricey for what you get for Daniel Jones. However, I think if you threw like a Jimmy Garoppolo size contract at him, he would be like, what the hell is this? I'm going elsewhere, because people are willing to pay that. And I think if you're the New York Giants, you did a cost-benefit analysis of, okay, well, if we offer him 32 and he walks, where do we go from there? Especially now you have the 25th pick, I believe.
Yeah.
And it's not like you're going to be at the top of this quarterback class. And so I think they kind of were in a situation where it's like, well, we either pay him or we restart after we finally got to the playoffs. And so they paid him. I think it's a good job keeping him. And I actually think they've had a really solid offseason. Usually we start off with the key losses, but I'm just going to jump right into the big addition, and that's Darren Waller, the tight end from Las Vegas with the trade.
Yeah.
I think that's a fantastic move.
Well, so it's definitely going to be, it's high risk just because Darren Waller hasn't really played that much at all over these past couple of seasons. But if he does end up playing, then it is high reward. Absolutely high reward. He comes in and bolsters a huge receiving core, tight end core that needed it.
Yeah, no, and let's be honest. He's basically a giant rebounding receiver. He just plays out of the slot. And so I really like what he brings to the table. I think he's going to create a lot of space out on the boundary for a little foreshadowing, who I think they're going to draft in this draft class. So I really like that signing. They also did bring in Paris Campbell, the speedy wide receiver from Indianapolis. And then on the defensive side of the ball, Raheem Nunez-Roches, the defensive lineman from Tampa Bay. So as well as some other ones, Bobby McCain, Amani Oruwariye. You want to try to say that one, Tyler? Or?
No. I'll say Bobby Okereke, though.
Yeah. That's the Pat McAfee announcement.
I like how that's probably what he's most famous for was Pat McAfee. He's a good football player, and he had a good time at Indianapolis, but he's most famous for the Pat McAfee dig and at the Nashville draft. So, but the thing that sticks out to me, obviously, just on their additions, is just they re-signed Sterling Shepard, which I'm glad they did. Then they also re-signed Darius Slayton, who I think deserves that as well. He had a good season last year. But then you're right, they've also then signed James Crowder as well. So they're just trying to put as many solid veteran receivers into the room. Not going to be super great, not going to blow you off the stat sheet, but they're experienced guys, know how to be in the NFL. So then I think they can have they can go and try and find their future star receiver here in the draft at the 25th pick. And so either by trading up or trading back or whatever it is. And so a couple of the noticeable losses, and there hasn't actually been too many that really come to my mind. The one I'm seeing, Nick Gates, and then John Feliciano, two offensive line. Feliciano. Yeah, that's bad. I'm not Italian.
If you guys are new to the channel, Tyler cannot pronounce names.
I'm horrible. I can barely pronounce my own name. And actually, that's very true. I had the list growing up. I couldn't say ours. And Tyler,
yeah, you would call me Wine.
Yeah, I really couldn't say my name. So then they did also lose their safety Julian Love as well.
Yeah.
So other than that, they haven't really lost too much. Like offensive line depth is definitely going to be key here, and I think that's one thing that they could potentially go after. But have they signed anybody? They haven't really signed anybody in the free agency. So I think that's something moving in kind of what they can do with the draft. I think that's could be something that they address with the 25th pick overall. But I think, as you mentioned, and I think that you'll go deeper into, that's also, I feel like, the kind of the prime receiver spot, because that's about where the top receivers in this class, I think, are falling.
So I really like Jordan Addison or Zay Flowers for the New York Giants. Those are both inside, outside, very scheme versatile guys. Jordan Addison a little bit more than Zay Flowers. I know the testing numbers aren't quite there for Addison, but you watch him on tape and it's like those numbers don't even matter. He has the play speed, he has the hands, he has the fluid athleticism that you look for in a wide receiver. He had success at Pitt when he played primarily in the slot. He had success at USC where he played primarily on the boundary. What else do you want? He's 5'11", 175 pounds. Who cares, right? It's not a big deal. He can still run 21 miles an hour, right? And then I think Zay Flowers is a little bit of I don't want to say an enigma, but he's very polarizing, right? Like some people have him, like Chris Sims has him as the number 1 wide receiver on the board, and then some of the PFF guys have him as wide receiver 7. And I think it's all about how you interpret his style of play, because he plays, even though he's 5'9", 180 pounds, he plays kind of like a bull in a china shop where he's just running full speed everywhere.
Yeah.
And everything he does is at 100 miles an hour. And I think that is something that the Giants would love in their offense. You can play him in the slot. You can move him out wide on a boundary if you're playing against a smaller corner. So either of those guys at 25, I think, would be fantastic.
I agree. I would lean more towards Jordan Addison.
Yeah.
Just because I feel like with the youth, and then I think he can potentially turn into a receiver 1 or receiver 2. While with Zay Flowers, I feel like they already had that with Wan'Dale Robinson in that kind of slot role, that speedy slot role.
Wan'Dale's more of a gadget guy. He's more of Zay Flowers can be that, but Wan'Dale can't run routes. Zay Flowers actually runs pretty polished routes.
Okay. So I feel like maybe I just feel like it still might be redundant. While with Jordan Addison, I think would be. And so, is there any? And I'm thinking, and I'm just looking at all the receivers that they added. Is there anything maybe going down a Quentin Johnston route? Because I feel like, and
I don't think so.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like they don't have that big X receiver.
Well, so they have. I guess had Kenny Golladay. He was, I think, released or is a free agent. And I just don't think that receiver does well in a Brian Daboll offense. I think you look at when Brian Daboll was really successful, Stephon Diggs was the number 1 receiver, right?
Yeah.
And then, they didn't really incorporate Kenny Golladay that well because the Brian Daboll offense is all about creating space and getting players in open field, where Kenny Golladay and Quentin Johnston does create space well. And actually, ironically, what he's not good at is jump ball situations. I just don't think that particular skill set does well in the Brian Daboll offense, because with Quentin Johnston at the next level, he's going to have to learn route positioning using corner leverage against them, right? And those are all really important things. But when you can't necessarily outrun a corner and you're going to be having contested catches most of the time, that doesn't work in a Brian Daboll offense.
Yeah. Okay.
So I think they would much prefer to lean towards Zay Flowers or Jordan Addison.
Okay.
I'm trying to think. Who's the other first-round wide receiver?
Jackson Smith.
Jackson Smith-Njigba.
Yeah.
He's not going to be there at 25. So
yeah, no, I feel like the stock on JSN is going up a little bit more. I think if I could see him going mid-teens, maybe. Actually.
Yeah, there were some at the combine. I've heard rumblings that there were Justin Jefferson-esque comparisons to his workout, to JSN's workout compared to Justin Jefferson's.
Okay.
Apparently fairly similar. Besides the 40.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Besides the speed and the height. Yeah. So.
yeah, but okay. JSN measured in at like 6'1".
I thought Justin Jefferson was like 6'3".
No, he's 6'2". Justin Jefferson is just skinny, whereas JSN is 210 pounds.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah,
okay.
That's that was some rumblings, but anyways, I really like receiver here. I think they could go Osiris Torrance at 25.
I don't think he'll be here either. I would like that a lot. Like, I'm not saying I would, but I'm looking at Seattle at 20, Jacksonville right before Minnesota. 24. Yeah, so I think that those would be the teams that would potentially go down that route. And if he is there, though, I think that's a good option. But also, to your point, though, I think receiver also might be go get Jordan Addison. I think might be probably the option that they go for on their team needs right now.
And I think on day 2, they could definitely address offensive line and get a solid offensive lineman there. So let's go ahead and wrap up the New York Giants offseason recap there. If you guys haven't already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. Tyler and I are trying to hit 1,000 subscribers by the NFL draft. So if you could help us reach that goal, that would be very much appreciated.